Kolibri is probably the best looking Sega 32X game I've ever played. Visually, it's one of the most beautiful games of all time. It's not graphically superior to something like, say, Virtua Racing on the 32X, but the game is just gorgeously drawn and pastoral. It's like we turned the game on and fell into the daydream of Thomas Cole. I mean, seriously, every single frame of this game can just be sold as an art piece. So what is Kolibri? Like, what genre does it fall into? What's the story about? Well, I don't know, and I just played it. See, you play as this hummingbird. You're just thrust into this beautiful pastoral forest and you're not sure what to do. You fly around a little bit, there are some insects that are hitting you but they're not really hurting you. Then there are birds of your type, so you kind of hang out with them. But they just start pushing you around and trapping you. They won't let you have any of the nectar of their flowers. So you fly around some more aimlessly, and then you just find this lone flower, you taste it, and then something sinister happens in the background. And then this crystal starts shooting its energy into you, and you gain the power to shoot various projectiles out of your tiny little cute hummingbird nose. I guess if we have to narrow down Kolibri, it's sort of a 2D shooter, although it's a lot more about exploration. There are these levels where you just fly around the beautiful plains and you have to get rid of all these insects that are flying around the flowers your species eats. When you kill all the insects, your hummingbird friends move in and they get to enjoy the fruits of the flowers. There are power-ups all over this game. There's so many power-ups. Like, you have these shield-type power-ups, and then you have power-ups that change what kind of projectiles you shoot, and there's just a ton of these. Like, you start out with your default projectiles, which you automatically get when these crystals give you superpowers, and these are pretty horrible. I mean, it takes forever to take out one bad guy. But then as you collect more power-ups by killing some enemies or finding more crystals that are just shooting a bunch of magical energy out of them, you can have your projectiles be a lot stronger, like projectiles that shoot in all directions, and even these heat-seeking missile projectiles. I think these are my favorite weapons in the game, because you don't need to line up your shot with the enemy. You don't need to be looking directly at the enemy, or even in the enemy's general direction. If you're in the vicinity of the enemy, your projectile will go right at it and kill it in 1 or 2 hits. It's my favorite weapon to use in this game, and it's absolutely necessary because Kolibri is insanely difficult. This game's beautiful pastoral scenery, and by the way, the music is fantastic as well. I mean, I can't find a better word for the music other than beautiful. The music and the visuals are just stunning in this game, but the relaxed, pastoral, and beautiful scenery and musical accompaniment don't fit at all with how gruelingly difficult Kolibri is. There are some levels where you just die instantly or within seconds because enemies just gang up on you and you really can't take that many shots without a shield before you die. There is a ton of enemy insects and other enemy creatures to kill. Sometimes you have to fly through corridors, so you just don't have enough room to move out of the way to avoid enemy projectiles. And Kolibri doesn't move around like a really versatile spaceship. Kolibri moves like a hummingbird. That is to say, your bird's speed and maneuverability are not supernatural. You do not have the upper hand on these gruelingly difficult enemies when it comes to maneuverability, making this game that much harder. This game's difficulty is probably the one thing that really bogs it down. Kolibri doesn't really have much of a plot, nor do I expect one. See, Kolibri is not really an anthropomorphic bird. I don't expect to have a 5-minute long cutscene with a bird elder explaining how I need to save the bird princess. Kolibri is just an adorable little hummingbird that can't speak. There doesn't need to be a story. There are evil, bad insects all around the world, and it's your job to take them out with extreme prejudice. Say no more, game. You might notice some similarities between Kolibri and Echo the Dolphin, or is it Echo the Dolphin, whatever. This is because Kolibri was basically made by the same people. If Kolibri's difficulty wasn't so gruelingly painful, this would be one of the best retro games of all time, and a ton of people would be talking about it. As it stands right now, it's one of the most gorgeous games of all time, but it's not one of the best just because of the difficulty. Kolibri for the Sega 32X gets an official stanburdman rating of a 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, my friends.